Mills has a go. Oh, Mills has scored! Great ball, Butters uses his pace. Cuts it across, and it's no good, yes! Welcome back to FBTV. I'm Robert Blanche, and we're here at Heath Park for the Concept for Soccer International coaching program by Gwynne Berry. And I'm joined by Club President Glenn Brown. Glenn, we see behind us the fields are under maintenance. What's the story with, obviously all three fields are having work done to them, and there's a lot of other work going around the club.
Yeah.
You want to give us an indication of where Easts are and what the future holds for East as a football club?
Yeah, certainly, Blenchy. You know, we've got Gwynne down here at the moment, and it's probably a good opportunity to get you guys down and, you know, have a look around, you know, what we're doing. We're year 2 into a 5-year strategic plan in terms of club improvements. We as a club realised we had to pull up our socks and get a lot better in terms of the offering for juniors and seniors in Brisbane football. Over the next 3 months, where we're looking to, I suppose it's not just renovate, it's completely refurbish all three fields, so that will lead into next year, the Brisbane Premier League season, into being able to play our 12s, 13s and 14s on all three fields, follow it with our 15s, 16s and 18s, and then the first and reserves. So, you know, 8 games of football at a Premier League standard in 5 or 6 hours. So I think it'll become very watchable. So that's the aim. You know, as you can see, there's a bit of equipment around, and you know, we've dug up an awful lot of dirt. So we need to get our facilities up to that level. Following that, we'll also we're putting $70,000 to $100,000 into lighting improvements around the place, so that all those games can be night games if we want them to be, mate. That's progressing well. So, you know, January next year we'll have 3 full-size fields, fully lit, well over the 110 lux requirement, and it'll be a good offering. And you know, that's I suppose part A of the strategy. Part B is to really do something that East hasn't, you know, done well for the last couple of years, and that's have its small-sided program and its junior program put in place right. You know, there's clubs out there that are doing it much better than us, and we need to do that. Our senior football program is very good, both in ladies and in men's. You know, that's never under any doubt. But the small-sided program, we've been lucky to get some real good people there. With Danny Wright, who's very well known to most people, and Johnny Schiavo are running that program, and they're putting that into place. And then we've got Mickey Rooney running our junior men's BPL program from 12 to 16s, and that's once again going really well. You know, we've got the coaches in place. We'll announce that to the Football Brisbane community, and you know, we don't want to just run trials every year. We want to bring the small-sided boys all the way through, similar to what Rochdale have done for years, similar to what Logan are doing, as examples of 2 other clubs which I think are doing it quite successfully. So, you know, we can focus on that. We can get the right kids here. We'll put the right structure in place. We'll give them the right facilities, and you know, over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll provide a very good football offering. So, you know, who cares about the politics of what's happening in football in Brisbane, you know, in the next couple of years? Every club's got to have a community feel, or community philosophy, and you know, the reason why we've done what we've done over the last 2 years is we've engaged the local community. You know, yes, we got grant money, but you know, we couldn't have done what we've done just with grant money. You know, a lot of member time, a lot of member money has gone into improving this facility. We've got great relationships with the local community, with Church of England Grammar School, who have assisted us significantly. But it's also about, you know, having an attitude that, you know, we've got something, and you know, we just don't want to protect it for us. We want to open it up. And I suppose today, and I know you're going to speak to Lucy O'Kill, one of our board members, today about the Concept for 4 International Clinic. You know, we talked about that. You know, Gwynne is an internationally recognised coach. He's one of the best, and fortunately for us, Lucian knows him, and fortunately for us, he was in Australia and he happened up this way. And you know, we talked about it, giving that opportunity for our coaches to be educated by Gwynne, and the discussion around the committee meeting was, well, let's open it up. You know, let's give people the opportunity to come and see it. And you know, if you look at there's some pretty good names and faces who are now being coached. You know, you look at some of the imagery he showed us of 5-year-old kids, you know, doing things that, you know, I wasn't a good footballer, that I can't even consider doing. So, you know, from my point of view, if we as a football community can instill that at 5 or 6 year old level and work our way through. And I suppose that's why we're investing the time and effort now in our small-sided programs for the next 3 to 4 years to build that up and, you know, get the right coaches who can actually adopt the techniques that Gwynne's talking about. I think, you know, we're a long way forward, and that's just not about East. That's football in Brisbane, football in Queensland, and football in Australia. We need to be looking at those things.
Okay, I'm speaking with Lucian O'Kill, part of the Eastern Suburbs Committee, but also, dare I say, the instigator, if that's the word, for today's coaching clinic with Gwynne Berry.
G'day Blanchy, how are you, mate?
I'm very well. This is something that at this time of the season we don't get to see very often. Most people have gone, oh, football season's finished, let's stop. Not Eastern Suburbs. You've brought out a coach from Reading. You've brought out, you know, he's got an international pedigree. As Glenn said earlier, was going to be in-house, but to the credit of Eastern Suburbs, you've opened it up to the football public, and from the numbers out there, it's been well received.
Yeah, look, it's been a great afternoon so far, and there's still a little bit more to come, and I think there'll be a few worn-out bodies at the end of it, and hopefully a toolbox full of skills and drills that they didn't have beforehand. Gwynne's a very old friend of mine. In fact, he played at a football club that my grandfather founded at the end of the Second World War in South London, and that's where he sort of, after his youth run at Crystal Palace, started his climb up in semi-professional football. Talking about Gwynne going back to that period, he was considered back then, in the days of playing in mud baths, one of the most technically proficient footballers, and was very much a student of the game and looked at how the guys did it, and the real special guys, how they did it well. Look, it's great to see 20 years later that through good fortune and timing in the calendar, Gwynne was doing some work in New Zealand and in Sydney and Melbourne, and we managed to touch base a couple of weeks ago, and he said, oh look, I'm coming up for the Raw game, because he's had some involvement with young Jack Hingett from the Raw, and in fact Jack's here with his dad having a little look this afternoon. We said, look, how about you do a session? You know, nothing too fancy for our guys, because I'd love them to see your program, because I know how successful it's been in the UK and across Europe. So we sat down as a club and said, yeah, let's get him in. We had a board meeting and we went, you know what, we can do this for more than our guys. It seems silly to waste the opportunity. It's a day about football. It's about giving the guys that volunteer their time some extra skills to come down and have a look at Gwynne and have a look at what he's doing, and as we've already seen, there's some new stuff in there. I mean, football is an old game. It's played with a round ball, but you can always improve on it, and I think that's what Gwynne's here today to deliver.
Speaking with Jack Hingett from the Brisbane Raw. Jack, first of all, welcome to the clinic today.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Mate, obviously you have a relationship with Gwynne. Yep. Over a long period of time, at your time at Crystal Palace Academy. Yep. It's good to see that someone of Gwynne's capacity and capabilities is out here. He's doing it basically for free. Yep. And he's passing on information and coaching techniques which I personally have never seen. Yep. And I know a lot of the guys out there are struggling with. Yeah. But if you watch the video earlier, you've got this 7-year-old kids that are doing it without trying. And the concept there, I suppose, is exactly concept for Soccer International. He brings that. Where do you see the likes of a Gwynne Berry in Brisbane? Do you see that as an advantage to Brisbane football, or even state football, to have someone of this authority and this sort of class teaching the youngest of our kids?
Yeah, it's definitely a great privilege to have someone like him out here. He's got great knowledge of football. Obviously, I spent a lot of time with him over in England growing up. I think I was 6 when I used to start going to his clinics back then, and yeah, he obviously helped me when I was going through Crystal Palace as well. So he knows a lot about football, and he's been to various countries to spread his knowledge, and it's just, yeah, it's a privilege to have him out in Brisbane. So.
You did tell us a story that you started in England in the academies and then come out to Australia, which I suppose is the backward around way. Normally it's the other way. It hasn't hurt your career. No. Obviously, signed and playing for the Brisbane Raw. You're playing in the top competition in the country. Yeah. How much of what Gwynne did at your early age do you think contributes to where you are today?
Oh, it's definitely been a big part of where I am now. Obviously, what Gwynne works on mainly is a technical side of things, which is very important when you're young. That's the main thing you need to work on when you're younger. Just all the skills and the techniques. And yeah, if I didn't go through all those clinics and the technical side of the game, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now.
That's a big endorsement. You're an A-League player. You play professionally. You've come through the ranks. You played down south, moved up and played for Brisbane. At the end of the day, if we could get more of this type of training, I think at the really young level, the 5s, the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, it will make for an easier road for those that have the determination and the natural ability to actually play the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's another pathway, and like I said before, it's worked over in countries like England, where soccer or football is their #1 sport, and it's worked over there really well. And obviously, if Australia wants to move forward as a football nation, it's things like these that help that with the youth development, and that's what we need to be doing over here, I think.
It's brought the football community together. We've got coaches from schools, we've got coaches from BPL clubs, APL clubs, and well, just about every club there is in Brisbane. It's at this time of the year and at this time of football in this region, it's a good news story, but it's also something which is beneficial. It's not just a good news story. It actually comes with some clout. And hopefully the coaches here today will go away and use some of those techniques. And of course he's got a DVD set of 3 DVDs, I believe, for sale that can be purchased, I would suggest, online.
Yeah, I believe so. We've got some here today for the participants, but certainly I think you can pop onto his website, which is conceptforsoccerinternational.com. He's got them there. You can flick him an email and you can do mail orders. So he's leaving his resources. The good thing is he's actually leaving the resources with the club as well. And the more guys that see it, it's a chance for them to have a play around. He's doing a little bit of a discount for today's guys. And we'd like to see people take that up and actually take the DVDs home and watch them. I think the premise of it all is that we all coach football, we love football. The game changes, and when you've got someone full-time looking at the way the game's changed and looking at it at a junior level and working out how we improve those kids from the grassroots. Now, East as a club, as we know, has always been very strong in women's and senior football, senior men. We make finals, we do really well. Part of what we're trying to do now is to develop the junior program around local kids. And I mean, that's Brisbane kids. That's not just about the eastern suburbs. It's about getting local kids playing the game, opting for this code over the AFL or the league or the union and seeing a future. Now, as guardians of the game, irrespective of what's going on as adults, we have a responsibility to give those kids the best opportunity to perform and learn stuff. So look, today again, it's a great opportunity to see the older guys master some of the skills. I know as a young fella, if I'd have been able to go through these kind of programs, I wouldn't have played all my football with my arms. But it's lovely, and it's all about, this is all about giving coaches the opportunity to develop kids, and we've got people from all over the place, and that's the way we want it to be. It's a day for enjoying the fact that Gwynne's in town. He's volunteered his time, and it's shaping up quite nicely.
With development, you have to coach the coaches as well as the players, because it's a situation where the more help the coaches get, the better the sessions, the better the quality, and then the kids, it helps their development. And really, it's not about the coaches. It's about giving something back to these kids, who give them the opportunity to go as far in this game as well. To go as far in the game as possible. I remember 16 when I first played my first professional game. The guy who I came in to replace, he turned around and he said to me, and this was, as it says, back in the UK when I was 16, he says, no matter what you get out of the game, give it back. And this is just my way of giving it back.
Speaking with Danny Alizart, the first 11 coach at St Lawrence's, one of the private schools here in Brisbane. Danny, what did you get out of today's conference with Gwynne Berry?
It was very good. It just further supported what we're trying to do here in Brisbane, and that's increased the technical aspects of our kids coming through the school. So yeah, it was very good.
If the schools can do that and the clubs can do that, it's going to mean a better competition all round. The players are going to be more technically proficient, and at the end of the day, better football at both club and school level.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing you noticed coming into the schools, was that at the first 11 level, so I'm getting the boys at 15, 16 years old, and as Gwynne said today, you can't work anything tactically with them if they're technically not good. So what I noticed was a lot of boys coming up who just weren't technically up to scratch. So looking at this stuff and implementing this stuff at school is what we're going to do through, from year 5 right up through to our year 12 boys. Yeah.
Blanchie, to be honest, I've got an advantage because I can see these 12-year-olds eye to eye. I mean, I'm missing a lot of legs. I'm vertically challenged, as everybody knows. But it's a situation. Look, the amount of people here at this club. You've got Cameron Bell, you've got Danny Wright, you've got Johnny Shavara, you've got Steve Glockner, you've got myself. And there's a wealth of talent there. A wealth of guys who have played at a high level, and again, it's the same thing. We're all doing it because we want these kids, to improve. Whether it's East or whether it's any other club. And today's whole thing was, we could have had Gwynne and kept them to ourselves, but we didn't. We threw it open to the schools and we threw it open to the other clubs because it's not all about us. It's about football, and the time at the minute when Brisbane football is in a bit of a turmoil, it's a question of, let's get it out there. We're here for the game. We're not here to take sides. We're not here to do anything. We're just here for the game, and people have got to remember that it's the game. This game that we all say we love, but we fight so much about it.
Speaking with John and Andy Ogden from Brisbane Force. Lads, you head up the new academies, I believe it's under 17 and under 14 and a younger age academy out at Brisbane Force this year and from now on?
Yeah, well, actually, Blanchie, we started that last year. Andrew and myself decided we'd move out of senior football and concentrate on developing a junior base at the club and hopefully put something back into the game, lend our experience to the game. And we've both got pretty clear ideas of the way we like to see our players develop and the type of game we'd like them to play. So, yeah, all our energies are going into that now.
What did you get out of today's session with Gwynne? There was things there that I've never seen before. I'm sure you guys with long coaching histories and good playing careers have seen that type of thing before. I've not. Did you get anything out of it today that really impressed you?
Yeah, I'll answer that one, Blanchie. Yeah, well, I think it just confirmed that we're on the right track with the way we're developing the youth and the kids at Brisbane Force. A lot of the concepts Gwynne introduced here, we are already going along that track, and it was interesting to have a chat with him and, get that reinforcement that we are doing the right thing by our juniors. So it's really good.
It's one of those things, we've said it a couple of times now through the show. East could have well kept this in-house and had Gwynne all to himself, but threw it open to the football public, and it's good to see that coaches, especially coaches with good and long-term histories like yourselves, come along. It sort of proves that you never stop learning as a coach as you never stop learning as a player.
No, I think it's great. I mean, for me and Andrew to come around this afternoon, it's great. We're passionate about football. We love playing. We love being involved. And the more we can interact with clubs and different coaches and get different philosophies and share ideas, the better it will be for Brisbane football. Sometimes there's a tendency for to hold on to that information and not share it. I think the more we can have share our ideas, work together, work in different clubs, and just get the standard of play and develop those kids. It's important that the development of the kid is the ultimate goal. So how we do that, it's not about egos. It's not about people. It's not about results for us. It's about developing players that maybe can go on and become the best players they can be. So,
okay, we've come to the end of the coaching clinic here by Concept for Soccer International. Gwynne Berry, obviously you've been out on the field, you've put some of the coaches through their paces, and there's a few sorry heads up in the clubhouse.
Sure, Limbs as well, yeah.
But what I watched today was something that I've never seen before, and instantly I could tell that is what we need to do with our 5-year-olds, our 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
I said to someone up in the clubhouse, I've got a degree in biomechanics, you're talking about muscle memory and things like that. To me, that makes perfectly good sense. And what you did out here today really impressed, not myself, I went around and had a look. Everyone was on the edge of their seats with their pens in their paper, and they were very, very intently watching. Sunday afternoon in Queensland doesn't normally happen. But You're saying that you're planning on coming or staying up in Brisbane?
We've got a meeting tomorrow morning, so hopefully we can work a relationship here with the Eastern Suburbs Football Club, where we'll run some programs for players. It might be holiday programs, might be weekly programs. Probably more importantly, I think my role will be coach education within that. I can work with 20 players, but if I work with 20 coaches, hopefully we can influence a lot more players. So it's very positive actually that you've said there that that's something you've never seen. It's a little worrying in a way because it's football. I know, but I think what I've been lucky over the past 25 years has been to work and develop an understanding of technical development, and I think if I was honest, it's the work that we should be doing with our young players. It's not the be all and end all. There's lots more to being a football player, but if we can produce technically adept young players, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the rest of the training programs become very, very easy.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? If you, as an under-12 coach, that's where the competitive starts here in Brisbane and in Queensland. At 12-year-old, as a coach, doesn't matter what level coach you are, if you've got players that can't trap a ball, pass a ball, and don't really know and feel comfortable with the ball, that's something you touched on earlier. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good a coach you are, you can't make them do what they can't do.
It's irrelevant, isn't it, how good a coach you are if the players are not capable, that quote of there are no tactics without technique is very, very true, very, very true. I think one issue or one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that coaches have to coach to win games. I think that's really important. Players need to learn to win games. We're trying to teach techniques that will ultimately allow players to go on and help sides win games. That's whatever level they play at. I think it's the balance in training and games of what's important. And with younger players, the development's important. So yes, winning's important. You have to play to win, but it's not the be all and end all. It's about players becoming better and motivating them to practice, motivating them to work at home, motivating them to come to training and enjoying training, not just as a player, but enjoying it as a coach. I think are hugely important things that get overlooked. Fun. That's the most important thing. Why do we play the game? Why do we get involved? Because we enjoy it. If you get better at it, you enjoy it more. And I think this is the issue, that if coaches can understand that, here's a program, here's a process, it's a 10, 12, 15 year plan, but if we can get that across, that message across, then I think there'll be a lot more enjoyable games, a lot more parents, players and coaches who enjoy the game more.
I watched very early on, and you had them doing, especially there were some Premier League players out there, and there were some coaches, and there was an assortment of other individuals, and the most simple thing of all, you were getting them to roll the foot from low on the ball across it. Now, they're all looking around going, why am I doing this? Really, why am I doing this? I could see it. Then the next session, the next step, and eventually you get to the end of it. And those skills that you showed them very early on, without them, they couldn't achieve the session.
And that's the understanding that to produce an elite performer at international level, we have to wind the clock back to the very, very start. Their their first steps within the football environment are so important. To get to there, you need to start there, and maybe that's what I've done quite well. I have an understanding now of how to take a simple movement, progress it into a football specific technique, to practice that technique, to be comfortable and confident, increase the tempo, and then increase the stress and the pressure on the players through various means, to ultimately making that a game effective skill. That might take 10 or 12, 15 years. I understand that, and I'm hopefully trying to get that message across to coaches that one session is never going to make a great player. 10 sessions is never going to make a great player. 100 sessions, 200 sessions, 400 sessions, then the improvement will be unrecognisable, I think, and that's important. People understand that.
One of the problems I see a lot, because we're around the grounds every weekend, 3 days a week, is the transition from junior football to senior football. They come up after being told you're a very good player or playing in the junior rep systems. They hit seniors and all of a sudden it's a whole different ball game. If their technique and their abilities aren't right up to scratch,
They simply get battled off the ball because they give it away, turn a ball to them into a 50-50 against a much larger opponent.
What you've got there actually is it's an understanding that when you get into senior football, whether they're good players or not such great players, they have an understanding of the game. Again, they've practiced the game a lot more because they've played a lot more games. So their game sense, their game knowledge is better than younger players. So although the younger player might be technically better, this player has a better understanding of the game and can force the issue with the younger player. The thing with the younger players is if they have good technique and then they gain that game sense through playing the game against senior players, they'll ultimately be a better player. What the problem is trying to let them go through that process of, you are a good youth player, now you have to transfer those skills and become a good senior player through practice, through games, through development, and there's a transition period between being a boy and a man, and once they get through that, if they've got good technique, they'll be good players. If they don't have good technique, then they've got a real battle on their hands. And I always say this, that when I work with younger players, you look at Iniesta and Jack, they're not big boys, they're not, but they're very, very good players. They've worked hard on their technique. And I'm sure when they were younger, there was guys who were bigger than them and stronger than them and faster than them, but they worked at their technique. And now what's happened is that technique has taken them past physique. What we really want is we want the big, strong athletes being the best football players as well. But that doesn't usually happen. The ones that work better at their technique tend to be the guys who have to work at technique because they haven't got other assets. They're not the fastest, they're not the strongest, they're not the biggest. So they have to work at their technique. But that technique can take them past the other guys. I think one of the interesting things is that my relationship with a couple of the Premier League clubs, and particularly Alan Pardew, who's been very, very supportive of the programme. I listen to him talk, and he talks about technique, about being important. 9 times out of 10 he'll give a contract to the player that's got the best technique because he knows he will develop physically. He knows they can teach them tactically, they know they can get them in the gym and make them strong, they can give them the diet, the nutrition, they can teach them all that. What they can't do at 16, 17, 18 is give them that technique. It's too late. And that's why that work from 6 through to 12 is so important as technique acquisition, of gaining those skills, and then 12 through to 16 players learn how to use where and when and how to use the skills, and then from 16 through to 21 it's about using them in a game, and that's really the process, cut and dried. What we do need to do is help coaches. I understand when the first time I ever coached, I said earlier, the first time I coached young players, even though I was a senior player, someone had to come and help me. I didn't have an idea, an understanding that what young players required was different to what I was doing every week as a football player. I didn't understand that, but now I do understand that. There's a realisation that if to be able to write something, you have to learn how to hold a pencil first. To write an essay or to write a letter, you have to physically be able to make the letters. You hold the pencil first, you make the letters, then you learn how to make words, then you learn how to make sentences and paragraphs and punctuation. They're all part of being able to write a letter. But you have to learn those in the right way. You can't learn to punctuate before you can hold a pencil. There has to be a structured program, and that's, I think, what we've done with Concept 4. We've actually developed a program and a process that's logical. There's lots more that elements of being a football player, but this is the most important at a young age. I think whatever level people work at, they can take something away from this, whether they're working with senior players or junior players. Understanding, like you mentioned, that there is a program and a process in place here. They can deliver a lot of those practices for 6-year-olds or for that's their prerogative to use that. I think if I could do that, could we change the face of Australian football? I'd like to think so, and it's it's one step at a time. But certainly, I've enjoyed myself. So if everyone's got something out of it, then I think it's been a worthwhile day out. So yeah, I've enjoyed it.